There we go. All right. So hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. It is the 14th. We had CPI this morning pre-market, and we ended up taking three couple trades today, and we ended up having 100% win rate today. So which is awesome. So we did really well today. Banked again. Finally, we got some good action, good volume. Again, the action that I like to play off of is exactly what we saw today. It was very fast, very spontaneous, right? It's right when we enter, we get, that big move. We get a lot of volatility. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to trade. So we finally got some of that action today. So that was pretty cool. Let's talk about the overall day. So going into today, I had a pretty bullish bias, especially on ES and NQ. Let me pull. Well, actually, we'll do ES first, and then we'll do NQ. But looking at the 30-minute chart, we opened up right here, and the reason I started to form a more long bias is because this was going to be our buy side liquidity for the day. Actually, we'll just start off with a replay, honestly. So CPI happened pre-market. I did not play it. I was waiting. Again, I don't like playing news. I want to see what happens when CPI comes. That's going to be, for my bias for the day. So when CPI did open up, again, this is a 30-minute. I'm just replaying this. We dumped to take out sell side, right? We dumped to take out sell side. We kind of formed relative equal low. So this is now, I'm now questioning, are we going to come back down to take this low out? Because we kind of have like these lows down here, right? Maybe a lot of liquidity is now gathered at these lows. So I'm starting to think that this might be an area that we will revisit in the coming days. So I was very bullish because I wanted to see us come up, break buy side liquidity here. And then I was most likely expecting us to come up to this area in general, right? Because we have a lot of highs here. We have the weekly opening gap. We have this high. We have the order block, right, from last week that's been acting as, resistance and support. So I have all this drawn in. So I was expecting us to have a push into this area. So once I saw CPI, we pushed down to take liquidity at these lows here. And then we had a big bounce up. I was like, okay, we're most likely going to push to the upside now, right? Like we're most likely going to, get to buy some liquidity. So we can see CPI actually pre-market, there was some setups that a buddy of mine actually traded. One of the setups was right here. This fair value gap, you can see held very, very well here on the 1 minute. We can see it push through, continue to hold this level, and liquidity still yet has not been taken from this high, right? So we know that this high is most likely going to get taken. If we can see a fair value gap continuing to hold, that might have been a good long entry targeting that high. So that was a setup that one of my buddies took. Again, this was all pre-market, so I didn't catch any of this move. So now going into the open, which was here. Oh, let me go back a little bit. So going into the open, now, we know that most of the time I don't like longing once buy side liquidity's been hit, right? Most of the time I do not like taking a long when liquidity's been hit. But the reason I was very long biased with today is because NQ and ES both looked very, very strong. And I thought that we were going to have a continuation push to the upside. We can see most of the time when we have a lot of accumulation at the lows, we get a big move in one direction or the other. And as we can see here, on a 1 hour or a 30-minute, right, we have a lot of accumulation in this area here. So I was expecting us to have a bigger push to one side or the other. And since liquidity had been taken at the lows from CPI, right, this level has been taken out from CPI, that made me form more of a bullish bias to go from weekly opening gap to weekly opening gap. So weekly opening gap is what I was expecting us to head to today, especially when we had such strong volume pre-market and on NQ as well. It gave me more of confirmation as to getting long. So I do want to pull up NQ here. I don't know why it doesn't work, but I don't think I can actually do a replay on both of these. But I do want to show you something. And the trade that we took earlier in the morning on NQ, one thing I didn't actually notice at the time, but looking back, I actually saw it. Well, I noticed the strength and weakness difference of it, but I didn't notice that we actually formed an SMT when we were in longs here. So at the open, we took longs in the morning. Sorry, we took longs in the morning. Right here on this retest, I'll draw in once I draw this in here. Our stop was at the low. We got a nice entry there. Again, looking at a bigger time frame on NQ, I was very, very, very bullish. And the reason is because if we look at the structure, right, we have this kind of downtrend formed. Remember, I don't like trading off of downtrend lines, but I draw it in just to add a little bit more conviction to my trade, right? We have all these highs here getting taken out. I can expect us to have a nice push up. Again, CPI does the exact same thing. We push down, take out liquidity from these lows, and let's see if there is actually a fair value gap around here. We'll see if there is. There is one right here. You can see literally perfectly right here. We have a 5-minute right below this liquidity. If I draw this in here, we can see we bounced perfectly off this fair value gap and then push right back up. So I'm expecting liquidity to be taken now, right? So on NQ, liquidity has not yet been taken, right? I'm expecting this level to get taken because this is the most prominent level, right? That recent high, along with this downtrend, I'm expecting a big move to the upside to take out this high and to take out this high, which is that exactly what we saw today, right? So that's another reason why I had even more long bias on ES, because NQ looked like it wanted to blast off, and most of the time NQ and ES will work off of each other. So I expected both of these to have, a bigger move to the upside today. So going back down to that 1-minute time frame when we did take that long today, NQ had a lot of strength going into the open, and I noticed that because at this specific time when we took this trade, you can see ES had a big sell-off, right? We had a big sell-off on ES. And as you can see, we continue to sell off, but we actually broke this low and we actually formed an SMT, which I didn't notice at the time. I just saw us breaking this low and I saw that NQ is holding heavily here. So this gave me very confidence. And if you guys were in the live, you remember me saying, I said, if ES can bounce to the upside, then NQ should have a big move to the upside. And the reason is because if NQ is showing a lot of strength, if ES is selling off, continuing to push lower, but NQ is not pushing lower, right? It's trying to hold. That means if ES starts showing strength, NQ is already strong. So if ES shows strength as well, that's just going to add even more strength onto NQ. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So this SMT started to form here. We have a divergence now. Since ES broke this low, we now have a divergence between ES and NQ, right? ES now broke this low, so it's now forming a lower low. NQ is still forming a higher low, right? Because this low has not been taken here, right? This would be our sell side liquidity on a very micro scale, right? But we still continue to hold this level here. So this adds even more conviction onto my trade once I see this, because we're forming a divergence now, right? We have the higher low on NQ, we have a lower low on ES. This is a very bullish divergence. So we get that nice push to the upside. NQ continues to fly. So that was a really nice trade to start the day on that as well. Again, we had a lot of follow through as well. And then the next trade we ended up taking is I took on, we have a scalp right here that we took with Cheyenne. Cheyenne called this out and I liked it as well. We bounced off this 1-minute fair value gap here. And I targeted this high. Actually, I actually think I messed this up. I accidentally added an extra contract on instead of scaling one out. So I think I closed my position somewhere here. I actually did not get this full exit that I wanted to. But I did get an entry around, I want to say here. My stop loss was going to be this low. So I did get kind of like a bad risk reward on this, to be honest. But I did like the scalp. And I did make a couple hundred extra bucks on that trade. So the next trade I ended up taking was actually on my small account, which I didn't fully alert. I didn't fully alert during the live session. I took this on the side with my small account. But we did have a 5-minute fair value gap here. And the reason I really like this trade as well is if we look at like this zone I have, right? I have this zone drawn. It's not really anything. There's no fair value gap. It's just this area. And it's an area of resistance now going to be turning support, right? We break up, right? Come back, resistance, come back, resistance. Now, once we break through this level, what do you think all of this, area is going to act as? It's going to act as support, right? Once we break above resistance, it then turns into support. So then once we broke above this, it added a little bit more confirmation onto my trade, right? We broke above this high. We have a fair value gap formed. This is adding a little bit more conviction. On a 3-minute time frame, we have another fair value gap, right? We have a 3-minute here. On a 1-minute fair value gap, we also have, on a 1 minute, we also have a fair value gap. So once I saw that we were starting to hold this area here, once I saw that we were coming back down, we started to hold this, right? But notice how this isn't like a violent push into this, right? It's not like we're going through this and then wicking back up. It's like we tiptoe a little bit and then we bounce a little bit and then we kind of tiptoe and then we try to hold and then we tiptoe a little bit, right? And then we hold and then we go a little bit lower and then we hold, right? There's no weakness. There's no strong weakness going into this level. It's not like we're going through it and then we're like hesitating to bounce. It's like we go in and then we close above and then we go in and then we close above. Notice how none of the candles closed below this level. Notice how none of the candles closed below this level. So I actually got a really, really good entry on my scale on my small account. Right when this candle closed back up and I saw this candle close above this level, I went long. I went long here with a stop below this wick, and I was targeting buy side liquidity up here. So another trade ended up forming with this trade, which is what I love. This, guys, today was a perfect day of what, you know, my strategy likes to work off of, right? We get a bounce off of a 5-minute fair value gap, right? Now, if you didn't take this fair value gap, like if you didn't get an entry in this fair value gap, there's another entry likes to form. And I'm sure people that have been in the live sessions a lot, I trade like you. I hope you guys can notice how similar the setups that I take are. Like they're almost exactly the same, right? And what it is right here is once we get that big push up, right? This is a confirmation candle is what I call it. This is a confirmation candle showing that we now have buyers in the market. We are holding this level and we get a big candle to the upside, right? But now we form this 1-minute fair value gap here. So this is now another possible long entry, right? This is now this I did alert. I said this was a beautiful long opportunity here. Had that big push up off this 5-minute fair value gap. Again, still holding this level, expecting this buy side liquidity high to now get broken. We come into this again, continuing to hold, and then we had that big push up again. Come back down, still continuing to hold this fair value gap. Again, still continuing to hold this fair value gap. And then we finally come up and take out buy side liquidity here. And then another fair value gap is created right here, dipped out into that, continue to push. But again, I would not take this fair value gap because liquidity's been taken. Note that this fair value gap, I'm just drawing it in for, you know, academic purposes, but I would not trade this because this high has already been taken. The only reason I take this long trade is because we have this high here. We have this high. We know that it's most likely going to be taken out because on a bigger time frame, like a 1 hour, you know, we're breaking out, right? We're breaking out on a bigger time frame. We know that we have room to the upside, right? So you could take an entry here. You could take an entry on a 1 minute because we know we're most likely going to end higher. But if I like trading off of once highs are actually put into place on a shorter time frame, because that gives me an area that most likely will act as a magnet, right? So let's go back to ES here, and we'll continue to replay this on the 1 minute time frame, and we'll kind of just draw in what I see here. This is a long entry or potential long entry right here. 1 minute fair value gap. We'll see if anything else here. Also a 2-minute fair value gap right here. This could be a nice long entry. Again, a high is created, right? We have a high here. So this could be a target, one of your first targets, right? Let's say we get into a long right here. I would put my stop most likely at the bottom of this wick here. My partials would be here. Ends up coming down. We'll see if this fair value gap holds or not. There we go. Get a nice bounce. And then first target would be hit right there. Again, we have bullish sentiment. We have very strong volume. It's a very clear trend. We have a lot of directional bias. So these fair value gaps hold very well today. You can see how well the fair value gaps acted today, you know, as in our edge. Almost every single fair value gap that was in play today, you know, was an entry, you know. So that's the action that we want to see. A lot of the action before has been choppy, right? We get, consolidation, not really all over the place. But then when we actually get, kind of a nice day to the upside, a nice little trend day, we get to scalp that long side pretty easily because of the fair value gaps. As long as we're following good risk management and stuff and keeping, our losses small, if we do get stopped out, it's very important that you can definitely, scalp these fair value gaps, especially, this right here. We come in once, come in twice, come in 3 times, and we still continue to hold this fair value gap and bounce every single time until we, eventually take out buy side liquidity up here on NQ. So continue to play this here. Now on ES, I do want to look at a bigger time frame here because the targets now, I actually want to look at a 4-hour as well. Again, we're kind of broken out of this 4-hour fair value gap that we had marked in. Remember yesterday, we actually rejected this. I was pretty bearish that we were rejecting this, but since we broke through this, my bias is starting to turn bullish. So on, a smaller time frame, like a 1 hour, I'm now expecting buy side liquidity to get hit here. And we also kind of have these relative equal highs here. Right? Not exactly. That's why I say relative equal highs. This is a high created, and we also have this high. So this is going to be our buy side liquidity. But notice, I don't think we actually ended up taking this out today. I'm not sure if we did or not. And the reason is because NQ already took that high out, right? Because most of the time when we notice, right, NQ and ES sometimes differ in the sense that NQ takes liquidity or ES takes liquidity first, right? It takes first, and that sometimes means that it actually starts selling off before one or the other can actually take out that liquidity, right? So going back to a 1 minute time frame, looking at everything else, don't really see anything here. Going to continue to watch this. I kind of want to see this fair value gap continue to hold. We have these equal lows here. I had two little candles here. See these two little candles, exact equal lows. This is something we want to watch. Notice how we also had these exact equal candles that ended up getting taken out, right? So now I'm expecting these to get taken out. So if these get taken out and then we also continue to hold this, see how we kind of rejecting, this could be a long entry, right? Since we broke these lows, coming back into this fair value gap, continuing to hold this, this could be a potential long entry. We'll see if this holds or not. Ends up breaking through. Stop again would be at the bottom of this wick. We'll see if that gets stopped out or not. And that would be getting stopped out. Again, most likely would not take that trade because this fair value gap has already been went through. I like trading new fair value gaps. I don't like trading old fair value gaps. That's why I wouldn't take the trades on NQ. I would take this trade here, right? This is the long entry I liked, but coming back into this, I would not re-enter back in this trade, but I would take this because it's fresh, right? And you can see how this fresh one, worked perfectly. Got a beautiful, beautiful bounce on this. I think this actually still ends up holding. We'll see. There we go. Still ends up holding. Now look at this. This is the entry that we like to see. This is the entry we like to see when we see that confirmation candle, right? We see that confirmation candle. That is the fair value gap that forms. So this would be your nice long entry coming back into this fair value gap here. This would be your nice long entry targeting buy side liquidity up here. See if this gets hit. Again, equal highs now formed here. Equal highs now formed here, right? These two candles. Now, this is a very scary candle, right? This is very, very scary, right? Most of the time, you'd get stopped out, right? You'd get stopped out on this move back down. That's why you trail you take your runners off, right? Or sorry, you scale your position on the way. That's why in this trade, I scaled, when we took that trade, I scaled on these equal highs here because, again, areas of liquidity, equal highs. That's what I like to take. So once I saw these two candles here, as well as we also had this kind of fair value gap here, I scaled half my position here. Again, this low hasn't been broken yet, so no real break of structure to the downside. We're still bullish, right? If this low was to get broken, that might start to change my bias, right? But until that happens, I'm going to be still long biased. Coming back down, another fair value gap created here. Another long entry because we have that confirmation, right? Once we have confirmation of the upside, pull back into the fair value gap. Another long entry. Continuing to hold. And then we come up to take out buy side liquidity here. Continuing to watch now. Again, at this time, I'm done trading, right? I only trade the mornings. This is when the most action happens. Again, pretty sure the rest of the day we were just kind of straight up, right? No real movement. It's just, yeah, exactly. It's just kind of, a trend, right? It's just a trend day, right? This is where I like to take that trade where you get a lot of movement, right? The rest of the day was just kind of straight trend up, a little move down, and then small little candles all the way up, kind of grinding up to take liquidity. And then we actually did take this high out, which I didn't know. So we did take this high out today, as well as NQ. So NQ and ES have both taken liquidity, but we did not take this high out yet. So we still have a little bit of room, and we didn't hit weekly opening gap yet. So now we'll see if there was any possible short entry. I would consider maybe this to be break of structure. Again, we kind of have these lows here. Once this comes back up and we get a bigger move down, we'll see if anything else is created. 3 minute fair value gap. So actually right here, this would have been a potential short entry, right? Liquidity's taken. Break of structure on these relative equal lows, right? I wouldn't consider this to be break of structure because there's no follow through, right? No follow through. We go a little bit, and then we bounce, right? This is, we actually have follow through. So then we go to a bigger time frame looking for a fair value gap. Let me replay this a little bit more back. Coming back into this 3 minute fair value gap. Come back into the 3 minute. Potential short entry right here, targeting sell side liquidity, which would be here, right? This would be your first target. Is this low? I would most likely put my stop here above, the next candle high, which would be here. Next prominent high would be there. I'd put my first price target here. Second price target would most likely be, again, no real like prominent low here. I don't really see any prominent low here except this low here. So you could potentially leave like a really big runner, but that's not how I trade. So I wouldn't really do that. I would most likely just take my full position off once that low gets taken. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, we got everything we want. Liquidity taken, break of structure. Break of structure is a big move to the downside. 3-minute fair value gap created. And then there's also, you could be another entry to the downside, right? Once you get a directional bias, we'll see if anything else is created. Looking at more time frames, don't see anything yet. Again, you have bias. You know where price is likely headed, right? You know where price is likely headed. You understand structure. You know liquidity taken. You know we had to break a structure. You know fair value gap. We're most likely headed towards this low now, right? So you know that. So now you can maybe even look for an area to add to your position, or if you're not in a position already, potentially take it, right? Fair value gap created here. So this could be another entry if we come back. I don't think we do. I think it's just a runaway. Oh, pulling back here, anything on the 2-minute. So we do have a 2-minute here. This could be a potential short entry. Right, 2-minute fair value gap could potentially add to this position. There we go. So we come up into that 1 minute, potentially add to your position because you know this is most likely gonna get taken out. Actually breaks through. And then does this should get taken out here. There we go, selling back off. And then we actually, form equal lows, still should get taken out. There we go. And then it gets finally taken out here. So this is where risk management comes into play, right? Trailing your stop along the way, especially if you're adding to a position, always want to move it to recent highs, right? So my stop, if I was in this trade, would start here, right? Stop would start here. Once I get that initial push to the downside, I then move my stop to the top of this wick. Once I get the break of this move down, I move my stop to the top of this wick, right? Once I get this move back down, I move my stop to the top of this wick, and then, and so on and so on and so on, right? And then until your price target's hit. So we'll see how this old fair value gap plays into this and see if we'll hold or not. Again, right now it's a no touch zone for me. Now it's a no touch zone. There's needs more structure to form. Right now, it's just a waiting game for me. I would not take any trades here. Right. Would just be watching this again. No trades because needs more structure now, right? Liquidity's been taken on both ends now, so we need to form a little bit more structure now. This would be a no touch zone for me because on a 1 hour, we have liquidity taken, right? So we definitely are in a potential bearish bias. But if we're looking at a 5-minute, right? This entry, I would not trade this because we missed the entry, right? Break of structure was up here. Fair value gap. And the first liquidity has already been taken. Since this first low has already been taken, for me, I would not touch this personally. And now I know traders that could, try to scalp this, but since this is now filling in new structure, I would want to wait for, new structure to actually form and, give me a better idea of, like a map, right? I still want this to fill in more because right now what I'm looking at is just a straight up and straight down move. That's it. It's just straight up and then straight down. So I'd want to see more action form. And at this point of the day, this is the kind of action you're going to get. And I don't like trading this. So that's why I only trade the first, two hours of the market. Continues to sell off, continues to sell off. Big sell off. Again, back to the opening gap. Again, back to the opening gap, still acting as a magnet. We go back and forth. Now, this move to the downside kind of expects me to, here, we'll go down a smaller time frame. Maybe if we can see some kind of structure shift in a sense. Again, no, I would not take really any play here. Again, even if we have this long fair value gap here, I wouldn't really take this, to be honest, because it definitely could work out. It definitely could, especially because I would consider this break of structure. But there is no really liquidity being swept here. The only reason I would potentially take this is because we're bouncing off weekly opening gap. Since we're bouncing off weekly opening gap, this could be a long entry, break of structure, push up, fair value gap created, coming back down, targeting this buy side liquidity. This would be, this would actually not be that bad of a long. This would not be that bad of a long at all, especially, but this would not be an A+ setup for me. We'll see how it works on a replay. My stop would be, long entry would be here on the fair value gap. My stop would be, again, the bottom previous wick of the candle. So the bottom of this, my price target would be this high. Looking at a 1 minute, I'm going to zoom back in here. Going back into the fair value gap. Taking out that low, taking out this low here. And there you go. I would have gotten stopped. Exactly, right? Because liquidity has not been taken, right? There's no liquidity. If we look at a bigger time frame, liquidity has already been taken at this high here. If liquidity's been taken on a bigger time frame, where do you think we're going to head next, right? Sell side liquidity, right? So that's why I would not take that long entry right there. Continue to come back down. Short-term liquidity taken here now. Then we come back up here. Actually, big push at the end of the day. Big push at the end of the day. And I think aftermarket session forms. All right. So that was today. Again, beautiful action in the morning. Wouldn't have traded later in the day. So we should always wait for liquidity before taking a good trade. Yes. In my opinion, yes, absolutely. That, again, like that's my checklist is, like I said it again, liquidity taken. That's the first thing. That's like the first thing that you need to be, taking a trade off of, right? Is you need to see some form of liquidity being taken, right? Like, even if it's like a small thing, right? Like today, for example, that first trade that we took on NQ, I gained more confidence in this trade because ES took small, like this maybe not even be significant for you guys, but for me to see that NQ is holding and ES takes liquidity and forms an SMT divergence, that adds to my thesis, right? That's a reason for me to enter. And exactly, liquidity acts as magnets. So let's get into what we are looking at going into tomorrow. So first thing, again, always start on a bigger time frame, like 4 hour. Let me erase all of this shit here. So I am potentially expecting I kind of want to see a push to take out this high here, but I might not see that. I could see a sell-off going into tomorrow. On a 4 hour, we have this big fair value gap here. So we do have a big fair value gap on this 4 hour that we've been rejecting a lot, actually. 1 wick, 2 wick, 3 wick, 4 wick. We've been testing this many times. So we'll see if we actually continue to break through this, right? Remember what we talk about, the more that we test an area, the more weak it gets. So that's one reason why I'm expecting us to maybe push through this and head back up into this level here. But I don't think that we'll have a big move like up to this high up here. I think I want to see kind of a bull trap tomorrow. I'm kind of like a bull bear bias because I want to see like a little bit of a push in the overnight session. I want to see a little bit of a push in the overnight session to take this high out and then reject back to the downside. So looking at a 1 hour time frame. Again, that does not have to happen though, because liquidity's been swept already, right? Liquidity has been swept, which means these equal highs or relative equal highs have already been taken out. So we do not need to come up and take this high out, right? We do not need that. So I'm not expecting us to push up. Now it definitely can, and I wouldn't be surprised by it, but we could absolutely just sell off tomorrow. So marking in areas of liquidity, this is going to be our buy side liquidity right here. Again, well, technically this high is, but I'm going to keep this line drawn in because this is like a little resistance point again, and this is going to be the actual prominent liquidity I'm going to be watching. I'm actually going to make this like blue or some shit, whatever. Liquidity for short term will be this low. Draw this in. That'll be our sell side liquidity. And then I'm also going to be watching this area down here, which was the liquidity created by CPI, which is even to me more important. Since this candle was created by CPI, that means a lot of volume was in this candle, right? And we did take out liquidity from this low here, right? And then moved back up. So now we kind of have this, again, like support area, right? Like we were looking at on NQ, right? NQ on a bigger time frame, we had like this resistance area, right? We have a lot of wicks in this area, right? We could see and then once we, the more we touch it, the weaker it gets, and then we finally break through it. So I'm expecting a similar thing to happen on ES, right? We have this little like, support area. I'm expecting us to potentially come back down, especially since liquidity's been taken at the highs, potentially come back down to take these lows out here. But at the same time, I'm also a little bit bullish just because, structure looks a little bit, a little bit bullish on a smaller time frame, right? Kind of want to see us come back up and then maybe have that push up to, grab liquidity one more time and then push back down. So don't have too strong of a bias going on. Again, a lot of my bias comes in the morning, like I always say. Once the pre-market session plays out and I can see, what happens then, that is when my bias really starts to form in that sense. So let's take a look at news. I'm pretty sure we do have news going into tomorrow. We do have PPI tomorrow. So again, another pre-market news. So it's not something we have to worry about later in the day. Nothing impactful coming later in the day. Everything impactful is going to be pre-market at 6:30 a.m. So we'll see how that plays out, and we'll see what happens in the pre-market session, right? In pre-market session here, our CPI had that push to grab liquidity. So I'm expecting tomorrow, what I want to see is the exact same thing, but for the upside. I want to see a push to grab liquidity and then that push lower. That is what I want to see for when news comes out. Do you always switch bias if one liquidity side is taken? If you're bullish for the day, what keeps you bullish of buy side is taken and it keeps pushing? That's why you look at a bigger time frame, right? That's why I stayed bullish today, right? Even though we took out this high here, if we're zoomed in, like, right, if we look at a 15-minute time frame and I like go here, right, you're like, oh, that we should be bearish now since this high's taken out. But if we zoom out like a 1 hour and we understand structure here, we've been holding this level, we've been holding these lows, we have relative equal highs up here. This is just some high here. We have relative equal highs up here, and we have a weekly opening gap. We know weekly opening gap acts as a magnet. We've already traded to this weekly opening gap. Once we break above this, I'm most likely expecting a continuation push, as well as NQ looks strong. So ES and NQ both lining up bullish on a bigger time frame, right? Liquidity's been taken on a smaller time frame, right? But on a bigger time frame, we still look very bullish since we took liquidity from this low as well, right? CPI, we had to push down and we continued to hold this level. So this gave me even more of a bullish bias for the day, right? I wanted to see us come and take this high out, which is exactly what we did, right? So similar thing I want to see happen with tomorrow with PPI. I want to see a bullish push from PPI, but a fake out. I want to see the same thing here. Same thing here. We had a bearish push to the downside, fake out just to gather liquidity, and then have that pushed out. Same thing I want to see tomorrow. Bullish push up, fake out, gather liquidity, push back down. Basically wave through DJ. Okay, DJ. A wave. Does anybody have any questions, guys? Anybody have any questions? Breakaway fair value gaps keep getting me. Oh yeah, let's see if we can talk about that. So let's see if we can kind of find some examples here. So breakaway fair value gaps will happen when we get a big move, right? A big move, right? Because we'll have multiple fair value gaps created. So let's see if we can find something here. Now we have kind of a breakaway fair value gap here, but again, that's not really breakaway because we ended up bouncing. Here we go. This is a breakaway fair value gap here. I don't think we traded in this yet. There we go. So if you look at a 1 minute and see a breakaway fair value gap, what I recommend you do is go to a bigger time frame, up it by like 2 minutes. If you're on a 1 minute and you see a breakaway fair value gap, right? And you're looking at this and you're like, oh, wow, like that. This should tell you that there's going to be a bigger fair value gap on a bigger time frame. Since this is a bigger move, that means there's going to be a 1 candle move on a bigger time frame, right? So let's look at a 2 minute. Okay, 2 minutes, the same thing. There's still a fair value gap in here. Okay, look at a 3 minute. There we go. 3 minute, there's only one. So you draw in the 3 minute, and now look how accurate it is, right? Boom. That's really the only way that I get around breakaway fair value gaps, in my opinion. That's the best thing. And then maybe think of something else. 5 minute. All right, there we go. Kind of shortens it a little bit, right? Kind of shortens it a little bit, right? A little bit. 15 minute, right? Does it shorten it a little bit? Yeah, it kind of does. Kind of does, right? So maybe move down like here. A little bit on the 30 minute. And it's wider, right? So I still think 5 minutes actually the smallest. Yeah, 5 minutes still the smallest. So keep that in right there. Do you keep old weeks opening gap? Yes, I do, because they will still act as areas to, you know, as I like to, I think of it, they just act as a magnet. Like, for example, if we look at a 4-hour time frame, all the blue lines you see, like this are all weekly opening gaps. And this one right here, which was our new one that was created. Notice how we bounce in between these levels. Notice how we bounce in between these levels. Come down, come to this fair value gap, again, break through it a little bit, come back up to test this one, come back down, break through it. Again, now we're at this low. It's like, oh, we look like we're going to sell off. Nope, go right back to this one. Oh, break above this. Oh, go right back to the next one. Oh, break below this. Oh, go right back to this one. And then acts as resistance, right? This acts as resistance, acts as support, breaks through this. Oh, come back up, act as resistance, breaks all the way to lows. Oh, we won't see that again. Oh, all the way back up, testing it one more time, weekly opening gap. Oh, comes back down to the new one, right? The new weekly opening gap we have here, right? All this big push up to weekly opening gap comes all the way back down to weekly opening gap. Even when this was created from this low here, this or right here, this is when it was created, right? Push up, go right back to it. Push down, 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 go right back to it. Push up, go right back to it. So that's what I'm expecting tomorrow. Push to the old weekly opening gap, gather liquidity, come back down to the gap, you know, and then come back, maybe take out these lows. I'm new here. First day, actually. What do you trade on? I trade on Tradovate and NinjaTrader. Any other questions you guys got? I'm punishing myself for joining late. It's recorded, brother. I'll make sure to post it. Stock options? No, I trade futures. I trade future contracts. Got to get some sleep. Almost 2 a.m. here. Good night. I'll see you in the live. Much love, brother. Have some get some good rest, bro. I'll see you tomorrow. I missed the banger trade today because I woke up late. All good, bro. All good. We'll see if we can catch some bangers tomorrow. Nope. You two a good job teaching and understanding. Thanks, bro. See you tomorrow. Much love, bro. All right, guys. I will post the recording for those of you just coming in late, so you guys can go rewatch it. We went over a lot. I think this was a really good session. We went over, you know, the action today and the trades we took, and we went over just a lot of educational stuff. So I'll make sure to post that on the YouTube. So yeah. Do you do market orders to enter? Sometimes, yes. It depends. It definitely depends. If I don't care about my fill, then yeah. Can you start the stream early tomorrow? How early are we talking about? I'll normally do like 10 minutes before the opening bell, 5 minutes before the opening bell. That's normally when I start the lives. How early we talking? Have a good one. Peace out. Much love, Jake. Have a good one, brother. How much is actually one contract on Forex for ES? It's so if it's $500 initial margin, that means the initial margin to purchase one contract is 500, which means you need at least $500 in your account to purchase one mini of ES. Now micros are different. Micros are the exact same thing, tracks the same chart, same, you know, S&P 500, same as ES or ES, same as minis. But for micros, it's 1/10 the size. So for a mini, it's only $50. It's only $50 for a mini contract of ES. Yeah, of course, brother. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you learned something. If you guys have any more questions, make sure to just, message me at me in the VIP chat, whatever. But I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for our live session. So have a great rest of your day, guys.